Hey guys, DriveShaftdrew here. I just thought I'd do a little bit of an update here. I cleaned up my garden, getting it ready for seeding. It'll be another couple of weeks before I seed it yet, but I do have some onions coming up already, which is nice because those are perennials. So they're up again already. I have chives coming here at this side, and I have this multipliers coming up there, I guess. So anyways, I don't know if you remember in one video I said that the time will come when I have to get to the lawnmower and get it serviced and ready, and that's where I parked it last year, and all I did was throw that tarp over it real quick. Well, guess what, guys? Today's the day. The time is here. I have to service this thing. Now, this lawnmower is literally 10 to 12 years old. It's not older than that. And when I parked it, I left it full of gas. As you can see, there's still gas in it. I didn't drain it or anything. Normally I drain it out and I clean the carburetor and I change the oil and everything else. I didn't do nothing to this thing. So I think it's time. I'm not even going to try and start it right now because I want to drain out the old gas out of it and check the carburetor, make sure it's clean, and then we'll get her started. So that's what I'm up to today, and I'll give you guys updates as I go along. Okay, so I dragged it in the shop and put it on my portable workbench. What I'm going to do now is drive it outside the garage, take my air compressor, and blow all the crap off of it before I even do anything. As you can see, like I say, I put it away last year. I didn't do nothing to it. So we got to get her done. So as you guys can see, I turned the lawnmower onto some sawhorses and turned it on its side. Now, to normally change the oil on a lawnmower, if you look in here, there's usually a plug that you can pull out to drain the oil. On this lawnmower, there is no plug. So there's a different way to change the oil, but before I do that, I think I'm going to take the blade off and sharpen the blade. So to do that, you just need a 9/16 on here. You hold the blade, spin it off, and we'll go from there. So just get the 9/16 on there. I hope my arm ain't in your way, but okay, to sharpen the blade, all I do is I use my little handle right. And that's basically all I do for touching up the blade. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. And then I just take a file and I just file it a little bit more from there. Because you don't want it too sharp, because if it's too sharp, it's just going to end up putting notches in your blade and stuff. Just basically taking the dirt off it and giving it a little bit of a shine. And I'll do the same to this side and we'll get back to you guys. Alright, so all I did, I took the grinder like I showed you, I just polished up the edges on both sides here, and they're sharp enough. You don't have to be sharper than that. And then what I do is I grind the face where it sits, and what I'm doing here is I'm checking for cracks. If there's any cracks that you find whatsoever in your face of the mounting or on here, or if there's big gouges taken out of the edges or something like that, you'll want to replace your blade. In this case, this blade is good for this summer again, so we're going to put her back on. Now, basically, putting it back on, same idea. You just want to grab your nut and your bolt, and make sure you put your blade on the proper way, because if you put your blade on backwards, you have a problem. So, you want the flat surface to go to the flat surface, and there's two notches that hold your blade in place. So you get those two notches in place, and the blade doesn't have to be super, super tight again. Just get it started. Grab your little nut driver or whatever. Good enough. That's it. She's on there. You don't want to over torque them, because if you over torque them, you can crack them or break them as well. And if they're under torque, they can fall off. Once you're done, just grab it, give it a little bit of a wiggle, make sure it's nice and snug. You got your 2 locking pins on there, it's not going nowhere. You got enough pressure on the center, it's not going nowhere. So that's how I sharpened my blade on my lawnmower. Normally now I would pull the plug, drain my oil into the pan, change my oil. Now in this case, because there's no drain on here, the only way I can drain oil on this lawnmower, and I'll try and show you quickly. This lawnmower is to drain it from the filler where you fill the oil. So what I got to do is just basically take this out and flip it upside down, drain your oil into the pan, which you guys can all do yourselves. You know how to do that. So I'm going to do that part, and then I'm going to put fresh oil into it. So just hang on. Okay, so with the old oil drained out, you can see approximately how much was in here. There wasn't a whole lot. I just drained it from flipping this upside down. It was like, you know, a little bit over half a liter or a little bit of something like that. So basically, you just grab yourself as a funnel, grab your oil of choice. I just happen to be using this one today. And basically give it about a half a liter. Just sort of guess at it. Okay, and then you let that drain for a second. Grab your dipstick. And if you don't have a dipstick, normally you fill it till sight glass or whatever, depending on what you have. Just grab a dipstick, like I say, and just check it. But you want to be on a flat, level surface to do this. That's why it's not sitting on the sawhorses. So now, as you can see, look at that, first shot, right on the money. So what you want to do is on your dipstick is get just above the second line on here. And that's the full mark on these engines. So it's not a whole lot of oil, but it should still be changed yearly. Oil change complete. And that's how you change your engine oil on your lawnmower. Okay, for this next bit, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the air filter. So that's just a plong. Oh, and you can see this air filter is quite dirty again. So this will have to be washed out, cleaned, and re-oiled. So we'll get to that. That's definitely a pretty dirty air filter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these 3 screws out of here. It looks like 2 8s. No, that's an 8. So 2 7s and a 10, or an 8. There's an 8. And so an 8 and a 7. That just takes off those 3 screws. I just use the deck and the sockets I usually just leave on the side normally. Yeah. Okay, so there's 2 6s and 2 8s. So 2 8s go to the top, 2 6s to the bottom, okay. There we go. So then this comes off and your primer is built right in here, as you guys can see. So basically what you want to do at this point, you get this off, that's going to all be cleaned up obviously. But what I want to do now is just basically, that I'm gone this far already, and then I'm going to lower off this carburetor bowl and clean out the bowl. I think I'm just going to drain the fuel from here into a cup, is what I'm going to do. So I get the fuel tank off this thing. We're going to take off the shroud. I don't even know if I have to clean the carburetor on this one. I never have to in the past, but this is what I'm going to do. Hang that aside. Those aside. This I find the easiest way is just to remove the whole gas tank and drain it rather than fight with gas flow. So that's what we're doing. I'm just going to take the regular pliers, move the clip back. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is pop off this complete gas tank, hose and all. Sometimes you have to give the hose a little bit of a turn to free it up. There we go. Okay. So basically what we're doing we're just going to drain the gas tank right into this cup. Because this was old gas and I don't want to run old gas in the lawnmower. Open the cap to let it get some air. And this will save you a big mess in the long run. You are going to get some leakage, no doubt. But there we go. I'll get it all out if we can. Oh, look at that. Just blew a hole in the bottom of the cup. What kind of fuel is that? What the hell? Ooh. You ever use a plastic cup? Now with that out of the way, we just take this plug out, the bottom drain plug, and you see there's no fuel left in the carburetor whatsoever. It's all drained out. So that's a good thing, and I don't see any real dirt in there or nothing, so that's a better thing. So this is just like a half-turn plug to drain your carburetor out. So I don't think I have to remove this carburetor this year. And if it doesn't run properly and that at the end, then we will. I don't think I have to though. Everything looks clean and kosher, but what we're gonna do is grab the brake clean and just clean it up a little bit before I put it back together. And clean up this area. That way if there's any water or anything left in here, it can be pretty much taken care of. Okay. So let that work. Then I'll just grab the air line and blow it off. And that'll drain off. Okay. So we're not too worried about that now. A little bit extra that we got here, I could just wipe up. I gotta clean this whole floor up after now for sure anyway. The thing they don't show you when they're doing lawnmowers and stuff is this part, where you gotta do the clean up and stuff. Throw it all there for now and worry about it after we're done. Anyways, so that part's done. I'm gonna take this stuff outside and give it a quick cleaning. I'm just gonna use the brake clean, so you guys can wait for that. Okay, so we got the gas tank and fuel filter. I just quickly did a quick clean out on the sponge. What you want to do is take a little bit of fresh oil and just put it in the sponge. Just a couple of drops. I'll go grab some here. And a little bit of fresh engine oil and just get it so it's a little bit shiny. It doesn't have to be soaked in there. Just a quarter of a capful and just squeeze it. And you'll want to squeeze out whatever excess oil there is in it. So you see there's a little teeny bit there, but not a lot. Just squeeze it all out, the excess oil, and then that's basically how you prepare that for the filters. So, next step now is put this plug back in the bottom, because we know it's all clean. You know, it's plastic tank, plastic carburetor. Should never have a problem, but you never know. So this plug is like a half a turn, but again, it's a half a turn just till it hits the lock, and that's it. So that's it. The plug's back in on there. Okay, the next step we would put our fuel tank back onto the unit, and I cleaned it up as well. Just slide your hose back on first, I guess is probably the easiest way, and then slide your fuel tank into the two notches. Now, grab the pliers. Put your clip back on so that it's sealed. So now the fuel tank's back in place. What I like to do is just grab the air gun now, just give it a good blow off. Get rid of any foreign matter that's in your way. You throw this lid back on. Yeah, if you want to clean it up first, you can, but I don't worry about it because lawnmower sits outside most of the time anyway. So. And then there's 3 screws for the lid. 1, 2, and 3. Try and line them up. Start with your fingers. Okay. Grab this. Just till it hits. That's it for the lid. So that's back into place. Now we can go ahead with our in base first. And this has your, to check these, you push this down, put your finger against it, see if it holds air, which it does. This one has a hole in it, so which means that it's perfect. Okay, so this can only go on one way. You got to make sure that this lines up with the hose coming off there, because if it doesn't line up, it's not going to work at all. And this little piece fits right into there, so if you don't line that up, it's not going to work at all. So you got to make sure everything lines up as you put this back on. That going on there? No. Holy cow. Come on. There we go. Then you heard it click there. Flash cap. Okay, now, to be on the safe side, I just like to look with the light, make sure that back hose did go on, yeah. And then it's lined up with that, yep. Perfect. Pushing air in. Okay, that's lined up. So now we take our screws, which are hard to see the holes for. So there's 2 8mm and 2 7mm. The 8mm, this must be the 7. Yeah. So to the top on this side. Goes to the top on this side. Here's the 2/8. You're snug. Now we got to change out the socket. Get a 7. And 2 7s back in. Where they belong. One. You sort of want to take these pretty much evenly, because that is your seal for your plunger on the carburetor. So if they're not tightened evenly, it's not going to work properly. So there you go. So that's back together. Now we already oiled the sponge, so you could put your sponge back in, and then, yes, it's going to get dirty again, there's no doubt. So now that it's nice and clean again for this year, we throw the sponge back in here. And like I say, if it runs rough and stuff, then we'll deal with the carburetor. Other than that, we're not going to really deal with it. There's no use dealing with something that ain't broken. Okay, and that's it like that. And again, 2 little clips at the bottom. And then snap it in there. And that's it. Sheet back together. So, now, the only thing left to do is put gas in this thing and start it up. So we'll do that as soon as I get it off the truck and onto the floor, and we'll go from there, guys. I just filled it with gas, cleaned it up a little bit, and let's see what it'll do now. Now that carburetor's been empty, you want to prime this primer button a couple of shots, and then from there, let's see if she'll go. And if it does, it does. If it don't, well, I'll take apart the carb. can see, there's no hunting. It's running 100% perfect. And that's a 10-year-old Murray lawnmower with the Briggs & Stratton engine on it. I do this to it every fall, usually before I put it away for the winter. This year I waited till spring and I did it now. So I mean, either which way, the maintenance is done on it. It's good for another year. And that's how you keep a lawnmower going for a while, guys. So from DriveShaftdrew for now, bye. And bonus footage. It's back where it belongs until I need it again. And for the time for this year, later all.